From reinforced cells to 24/7 surveillance, this prison was supposed to be a fortress of law and order. But behind its iron gates and concrete walls lies a different story. A story of power, corruption, and mafia rule. Today, we'll be looking inside one of the world's most high-security prisons, a fortress designed to be inescapable, yet mysteriously controlled by the very criminals it was built to contain. This is inside the most high-security prison that is ruled by the Mafia. Known as the Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1, Altiplano, this high-security prison was built between 1988 to 1990. It is located in the Santa Juana Centro neighborhood of Almoloya de Juarez town in central Mexico, and it was designed to house some of the most dangerous and high-profile criminals in Mexico. Notable inmates. Standing about 16 miles from Toluca, this almost impenetrable prison is home to some of Mexico's most dangerous drug lords, such as El Padrino, the founder of one of the first Mexican cartels, Guadalajara Cartel, which not only formed alliances with local cartels like the Sinaloa Cartel, the Tijuana Cartel, and the Juarez Cartel, but also had connections to the Medellin Cartel and the Cali Cartel. El Güero, former drug lord of the Sinaloa Cartel. El Doctor, former leader of the Tijuana Cartel. El Ingenierio, former deputy leader of the Tijuana Cartel. El Tio and La Tuta, two former leaders of the Knights Templar Cartel, high-ranking members of the Las Zetas Cartel. El Chapo, leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, who destroyed the prison's long-standing tradition of zero escapes, and other members of Mexican cartels and the Mafia. Security features. Altiplano is considered the country's highest security prison. To prevent escapes by helicopter, the airspace around the prison is a no-fly zone. Additionally, the airwaves are restricted to stop prisoners from using smuggled cell phones to communicate with the outside world. Altiplano boasts a multitude of ground-level security measures. The entire prison is covered in CCTV cameras and access control points. Every entry into the prison is equipped with metal, drug, and explosive detectors, ensuring a high level of security. The Supermax facility is equipped with state-of-the-art security features for enhanced monitoring and surveillance. Both internal and external controls are cutting-edge and high-tech. Some of the segregation cells are built deep underground for added security. Metal detectors scan visitors for any metallic objects, and X-ray machines thoroughly inspect all incoming goods to ensure nothing dangerous or unauthorized gets inside. The prison, no doubt, meets the standards for a Supermax prison, but its enforced security measures are nothing to the bosses of the Mafia. About 14 years after its establishment, the Mexican government boasted that there had never been any riot, murder, or escape within the prison walls to demonstrate to the public just how much control they had in there. Well, this was true up until the prison accepted its first member of the Mafia. Infiltration by the Mafia. The balance of power shifted, and the drug bosses of the cartels took control of the prison. This all started in 2001, when drug lord Benjamin Arellano Felix, also known as El Señor, arrived there in March 2002. El Señor was the then main leader of the Tijuana cartel. The narco boss was a tough guy to find, and the US DEA was only able to find them by using his deformed daughter, whom he loved very much, to track him down. This didn't sit well with the drug pin, and he was determined not to let things go their way. In the year of his arrival, he was able to single-handedly pull off what the other 530 inmates had been unable to achieve. He infiltrated the prison security system and established himself as the boss. Osiel Cardenas Guillen, the then leader of the Gulf Cartel, arrived a year later, and together they both ruled the prison. Their public tactics of hunger strikes and noisy protests by family members pressured the prison administration to meet the demands of these high-profile inmates. Visiting hours were extended, they could dine from a menu, and they were allowed to socialize with other inmates outside their cells for up to 12 hours a day. The cartel leaders cleverly used public outrage over their cuisine and the absence of other perks to obscure the ongoing deterioration of prison equipment. Orders were then given for female visitors to be searched only in a cursory manner, which allowed firearms to be smuggled into the prison. Noah Hernandez, the deputy director at the facility, who wasn't bending to the will of the capos, was eliminated by the members of the cartel outside the prison in December of 2003. Although these narco bosses were rivals, they became united in the prison by their mutual dislike for the rapidly growing Sinaloa cartel of El Chapo. With the ready availability of guns inside the now corrupted Supermax prison, the next step of their new drug axis was to strike at their common enemy. In 2004, two Sinaloa members, Alberto Soberanes Ramos and Miguel Angel Beltran, met tragic ends. Ramos was strangled in May, while Beltran was fatally shot in October with a smuggled pistol. The violence continued into the following year. On New Year's Eve in 2005, Arturo Guzman, known as El Pollo and the younger brother of Guzman, was brutally murdered. He was shot 7 times while conversing with his lawyer in the prison's visitor section by a low-ranking member of the Tijuana cartel. After that, the prison was stormed by the Secretaría de Seguridad y Protección Ciudadana, the Mexican equivalent of Homeland Security. To regain control of the prison, soldiers surrounded the prison for 5 days. The Mafia bosses were extradited to the US a couple of years later, but this did little to change anything, as the prison was now home to other cartel bosses and highly prolific members. Prison break. El Chapo Joaquin Guzman, the head of the Sinaloa cartel, joined the prison's list of Mafia bosses in 2014. President Enrique Peña Nieto and his government officials were very confident in the high-security measures they had in place at the Altiplano Prison and believed that El Chapo would not be escaping, as he did in 2001, from Puente Grande's maximum security prison. Despite numerous security measures, none could prevent Guzman's escape. On a Saturday night, security cameras recorded him entering a shower stall. From there, Guzman descended a 32-foot ladder into a newly constructed tunnel that spanned over a mile. This tunnel was not just long, but also well-ventilated, well-lit, and even equipped with a motorcycle on rails. The tunnel led to a house under construction outside the prison walls. The extensive work and resources required for this escape route have raised suspicions that Guzman or the Sinaloa cartel may have bribed prison officials and possibly members of the Mexican government. The shower place was a blind spot from the surveillance camera and made the escape invisible to the prison guards. Hence, when the cartel boss was captured soon after, he was placed under constant observation from a ceiling camera that had no blind spots. The floors of the top security cells were reinforced with metal bars and a 40-centimeter layer of concrete. The prison authorities restricted his visits to further tighten security. Living conditions. Despite being ruled by the Mafia on the low, the maximum security prison is still a prison and no 5-star hotel. The cells have very tiny windows, and isolation is religiously enforced. The cells designated for prolific criminals are well isolated, just like the cell 20 El Chapo was held at. The cells contain a slim, narrow bed placed on a metal platform, a sink, a shower, a toilet, and barely enough space to walk around. The prisoners are confined to their cells for several hours of the day to prevent interaction and reduce the possibility of a riot. But the Mafia bosses held within Altiplano's walls have found a way around this. They do not only find ways to interact with each other, but also have the prison guards on their payroll. This allows them to form a drug base within the prison and their visiting families, acting as a connection between them and the cartel on the outside. El Chapo's wife, Emma Coronel, upon arrest, admitted to acting as a courier for the cartel leader while he was held in Mexico's Altiplano prison following his 2014 arrest. Daily activities. The prisoners are barely allowed outside, and they spend most of their days staring at the walls of their cells. Today is very much like the next. They eat, sleep, explore the insanity of their minds in their small cell, and when they do get the opportunity, perform some exercises outside the prison walls. While some turn to regain the control they once had in the outside world, others turn to connect with a deity in hopes of finding redemption. Meals. The meals in the prison are not so appealing. The slop served to the prisoners is just sufficient to meet their nutritional requirements, but the mob bosses have found a way around this. They've not just been able to eat well, but they have also found a way to bend prison rules to suit their needs. The riot in 2003 regarding the value of their food was the start of it all, and though the authorities reigned for a while, the Mafia bosses soon broke loose. Visits. Visits are not restricted to the criminals in the prison, with the exception of the recaptured El Chapo. His visits were restricted because of the prison break attempt he pulled, but that aside, all inmates, including high-profile ones, are allowed to see their families at least once a week. The inmates are also allowed visits from their lawyers to discuss the details of their stay. However, these narco bosses see these visits as opportunities to continue to expand their influence in the drug trafficking business in the outside world, as their visitors are used as their links. The visits are sometimes seen as ways to target their rival cartel members they do not often see due to isolation. This is seen in the case of El Chapo's younger brother, who was gunned down while discussing with his lawyer. Prisons are supposed to be rehabilitation centers, but this is false in this case. For more dark stories of the underworld, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell to never miss an update.